Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech Podcast series. This is Lakshit Pant, a contributor at Azure Developer Community. Today, with this initiative, we are going to have a discussion with with Debanjan sir. He is from NEC Corporation, forefront development of cutting-edge IT, network communication, biometric recognition, IoT, and multiple AI technologies. So, first of all, to kick off the thing, sir, if you could share with our listeners a bit about your journey and about your experience, how you have came to the lead the development center, global development center at NEC Corporation India.
Well, thank you, Lakshit, for this opportunity, and I really thank you and Rescale to have me on this conversation. Lovely talking to you, and I hope we'll be able to have an interesting few minutes as we go ahead. Talking a bit about myself, my name Debanjan Dutta. I am in NEC and in particular NEC India, heading the Global Development and Delivery Center for NEC, which is a team of around 1,800 engineers, software developers, system engineering professionals, consultants, domain analysts, and lots, right? And this team, does, as you rightly said, a lot of cutting edge work around what NEC stands for globally, right? NEC is a Japanese, headquartered multinational organization having, a presence in mostly many, parts of the world, including emerging economies as well as consistently performing organizations and economies across the world. India happens to be a very big focus area for NEC, both in terms of how do we support the market, how do we support customers in India, but I think more importantly how India is a talent hub, right? How India is a strong workforce in the technology and particularly IT environment. So that's a bit about what I do in NEC. Uh, yeah, a bit more about my background. Prior to joining NEC, right in the middle of COVID, I would say, beginnings of 2021. Prior to NEC, I was working with other, organizations at the forefront of technology and business operations consulting. Primarily, I've worked with a significant number of multinationals. My last, organization before NEC was Accenture, and then I go back around 26 years in the overall work experience. I have done a variety of roles, right from starting as a service engineer, if I may, right, and a core, hands-on engineer with, nuts and bolts, and then onwards to, doing variety of roles around sales, business development, key account management, consulting, operations, delivery, and finally ended up doing a lot of work around uh, workforce, talent management, skill management, technology management, delivery management for some of my previous organizations and the role which I do in NEC now.
Sir, so that's fantastic intro that you have given. So that's very nice. You have given the entire brief. So the Global Development Center is quite fascinating entity, right? So could you shed some light on the center's mission and how it aligns with NEC's vision for maybe the innovation and the maybe we can say technological advancement is the right word.
Absolutely, Lakshit. So let me begin by saying that NEC has a mission, and it is known for its mission, which is orchestrating a brighter world. That's NEC's global mission, right?
Right.
Now, if you read through that, it in those 3 to 4 words, there's a lot of uh, emotion, right? A lot of sincerity and a lot of passion engaged in what NEC stands for globally, which means that NEC is into solving problems, solving ways of making our lives better using technology, leveraging the digital transformation as it comes through. So when we say orchestrating a brighter world, NEC is primarily into a lot of game-changing technologies which influence the way we live as human beings, as citizens of a urban, semi-urban, rural society. Case in point, you would know in India, NEC, for a variety of projects which we have done, starting from
Exactly.
the Aadhaar card, which is the UIDI, flagship
Yes.
program by the government of India, where NEC's iris and fingerprint solutions are at the forefront of managing 1.4 billion Indians. Imagine the database. Imagine the number of permutation combinations and complexity. So when we really say orchestrating a brighter world, NEC dives deep right into the way we live as a society, as an organized, as a community, as urban humans, right? So that a variety of cutting edge technologies around video analytics, biometrics, which impact the way we lead our daily lives. Another case in point, when we look at our boarding pass today, the in-flight, the boarding pass when we go and board a flight, NEC has brought in technologies across the world, and now more recently in the last 1.5 years in India, where your face becomes your boarding pass, right? The mission of the government of India around Digi Yatra, that is coming true
Right.
thanks to some of the technologies which we have implemented in
Yeah.
touchless mode. So right when you walk into the airport, where the CISF kind of checks you in, all of that has now become possible without actually printing a boarding pass, just by
Yeah.
you linking your
That
credentials.
made that made the process so easy, right? People used to wait for 4 hours I saw, and now it's like a 1 second job. He just scans everything and can just quickly do everything. Like it's more like it's very simpler version that you have did. And the recent I was reading the news with the recent partnership with Intelligent Transport System in India, UPRCTC buses, right? So
Yes.
that's a fantastic part that you have covered, sir.
So in terms of, again, finishing my emotion around the whole NEC journey of orchestrating a brighter world, right from sub-sea, which is basically deep in the ocean, right up to the sky. If you look at the technologies which NEC brings to the global society, it's around submarine cables, where we are laying down cables using submarines right at the bed of the ocean, which are
Okay.
massive transportation carriers for digital data. So most of your internet connectivity, when you see, is either terrestrial, which is through the satellite links, or it is subsea, which is through the digital cables. So NEC is one of the few organizations which is a master of this technology. Then go on to what I mentioned around UPSRTC, the transportation logistics solutions, some of the cutting edge solutions around manufacturing IoT, some of the solutions around retail in terms of mobile point of sale, some of the solutions around telecom, in terms of the satellite communication which you have, some of the equipments which NEC manufactures and delivers are all centered around the microwave backhaul technology, and in turn also the radio, which is an essential component of what point to point data transmission and communication is all about. So in a lot of ways across hardware, middleware, software, AI, NEC is touching people's lives, and that is our mission.
Exactly, sir. And all the news that I got, like the financial result of 3 month period and the revising segments, the NEC radio unit announcement, everything was so much fascinating to all of us. Now, as we are discussing the around the development, right? Let's first drive towards the internal maybe company development, the workforce development, right, the skill development. So from my experience, what I have seen, the general generic ways companies training the individuals on multiple cutting edge technologies, the future emerging technologies. I would like to know, where is your company focusing right now? What is the key focus area right now? Is it around cybersecurity, data, maybe cloud, or something else? Because there are so many, maybe what you can say technologies in the portfolio, like biometric authentication, face recognition, 5G, public safety, smart city, everything is there. But I would like to know, where is the present focus of NEC?
That's a very loaded question, Lakshit. Let me try and answer that in two parts. Right. One is at the core of any solution. Right. There will always be a component of core technology, right, which is basically, let's say, an algorithm, the whole engine which is running, for example, a biometrics engine, right? And then there will be an app layer which is basically on top of that. How do you build applications using the core engine
Right.
to 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 custom fit or to be tailored for certain use cases, right? For example, you could have biometrics in, as I said, the digital boarding pass, right? That uses your face. You could have biometrics in a payment system where your face is your wallet, right? So it's
Right.
got a link to the banking and your bank account, etc. There is a possibility of using face in terms of digital surveillance, right? Where you look at how do you monitor and map the crowd density in a, let's say, a stadium or in a shopping mall. How do you look for suspicious activities around certain movements, right? So there are a variety of use cases. So when we look at what we are gearing our workforce to be, right, is to be a combination of a software professional, if I may, and also be a specialist in some of these areas. So which is beyond the code, right? It is more around what domain do you kind of grow your specialization in, right? Are you into public safety solutions? Are you into a public transportation solution, or are you into a digital finance kind of a solution? So there is always this combination of how much of a technology and domain depth people have, right? And within GTC, within NEC India GTC, we are forever encouraging as well as creating an environment where people are able to get their hands and feet into learning the domain along with the technology, right? So, Lakshit, I think two things. One is how do we leverage these, new age technologies to deliver
Yeah.
the solutions and services which we do, right? And second is how do we generate new solutions or new technologies which can make an impact on certain sections of generative AI or blockchain or metaverse, right? Now, if I were to look at how do we leverage, right? So, as of now, when we look at the way a particular project is delivered, right, and these projects are mostly, I would say, mostly around areas where you would use one of the standard methodologies, which is either the waterfall or the agile methodology in SDLC. Uh, there's a certain level of process adherence which we need to follow in terms of how our projects are delivered. Right now, in that adherence process, we are trying to, in fact, we have not trying to, we are actually shaping some portions of certain projects where a certain amount of application components can be
Okay.
developed using AI. Yeah. For
Got it.
example, if you are using the more uh, leading kind of AI tools today in terms of the code development areas around ChatGPT, right? Now, having said that, there are definite watchouts in terms of how do you stay compliant? How do you stay within the boundaries of code security? How do you stay within the boundaries of how much data transmission is allowed, and what is the right data which you can expose to a chat GPT environment? So we are in the process of learning, but definitely we are in the process of adopting a lot of these new age technologies, especially around generative AI and large language
Okay.
modeling.
Okay, that's a big statement like that you made. Now, so for any organization working on a big scale like NEC does, how does the decision making for any tech adoption happens internally? Maybe like there has been a lot of buzz around generative AI now. So how does the decisions or how does it makes the impact comes into play? Can you just give a walk through the process?
As I said, Lakshit, the recent influx of generative AI has been an area where everybody has started kind of understanding what it is and what it is capable of.
Exactly.
So in terms of a process, if you ask me, uh, at a overall NEC level, there are certain guidelines which are issued in terms of the do's and don'ts of adopting some tool on generative AI. uh,
Okay.
as well as in terms of the way we will go about in adopting those for our project deliveries, is where we will do that in a sandbox or a test environment for a particular sample of that project, and actually see the results, right? Test the results in terms of both the quality of the deliverable, the outcome, as well as in terms of the guardrails, the compliance guardrails around uh, how much of this is exposing data, what kind of code is being shared, and whether it is kind of open in a secure environment or not. So we test all of that before we kind of take a decision that a specific area of let's say a project development can be allowed to implement generative AI. So there is a process which is guided by the headquarters, which is our NEC corporate in HQ Japan, and then we test our own kind of areas of vulnerability
Okay.
and also the effectivity of the outcome. In some of the projects, there are some of these are very niche kind of areas of development,
Okay.
and it is not necessary that we will have to have and we can afford to have generative AI in each and every kind of a deliverable. So we are picking certain projects where we are testing, and then we are going ahead with that.
That's a very optimum approach to adopt any technology. That's very nice. So now with a quick drift, I'll put the maybe a complex situation in front of you. So some have seen in this ecosystem, some people believe the Indian education system. I'm talking about the colleges, like their education system, the material, study material is not updated. If one has to study, they have to go beyond and explore everything outside. But at the same time, I believe yes, there are some complications, but it's not that low or maybe that bad. Colleges focus on building the core areas, maybe like if we talk about the networking, operating system, system design, that are the basics thing that one needs to understand in order to learn, in order to be a good tech individual. So I just wanted to know, or then it's an individual choice where everyone wants to drive their car towards. So I just wanted to know what's your views upon this, sir.
So I think there is a way to look at this. The kind of education system our system kind of allows, right? It is still to some extent not being able to catch up fast enough, if I may, right?
Hmm.
And because the technology advancements are so rapid and so disruptive at times that it is nobody's fault. It is not possible to keep on kind of changing the curricula to adopt to those rapid changes. So I think what is happening, especially when I look at what kind of workforce we develop and the kind of people we choose right from college, if I may, or institutions, is uh, two things. One is that the student or the person has to uh, keep their eyes and ears open, right? The learning environment today is very hybrid, right? The learning environment is hybrid. It allows the student to be hybrid, which means that what you learn as core in your institution, you have to be able to relate to what is happening in a similar area in certain communities, in certain use